What's up, Degenerate Nation? Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast. This is the Week 3 college football betting preview. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-host, Collin Wilson. A lot to get to. Great slate. We'll go through some marquee games, hit, 10, 15 others in the rundown. The trash, oh baby. The trash list is long. It's extensive this week. It's either going to be a really fun week or not. It's one of those weeks. Then we'll go 3 and out. We'll hit Friday night, give our favorite overdogs, favorite underdogs, and then get out of here. Before we get into breaking down some of the marquee games, quick couple reminders. If you are listening, this is the time it really helps us out. If you could leave a review, just send in any 5-star review would help us out. Subscribe. You know the drill. But also, if you use Twitter, be sure to use @Playbook, the new betting bot from Action Network. You can turn your screenshot into a bet slip. Just follow @Playbook on Twitter for more info. You no longer have to manually put your bet in. If you like a bet on Twitter, you see it, you see a parlay, you can just say @Playbook. You can also just say, hey, @Playbook, create a bet slip with these bets, and it'll reply, and you can just click the link. Saves you some time. Really cool bot. And also, some breaking news if you didn't know, I'm also co-hosting the New Favorites podcast, which is returned with a new lineup. Episodes are Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. It's Kendra Middleton, Brandon Kravitz, bets, stories, all sorts of fun stuff. It's like a lighter NFL show. It's a really good time. I have a couple episodes out already, and then we'll have one on Sunday where we recap the NFL. So wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure you check out the favorites. All right, Collin, let's get right into it. Let's start with Georgia, Tennessee. Fascinating game. Tennessee took a bunch of money. There's been a little bit of buyback on Georgia. There's some service releases early on Tennessee. Georgia, as we record, currently sits as a 4.5-point favorite. Total ticked down a bit to 49.5. So there's a lot of question marks here. We could attack this so many different angles. You have Joey Aguilar, the quarterback for Tennessee. He's looked good so far, but came against Syracuse, who's really bad. And then, an FCS school. So what can we take from those two games? We'll see if their 5-star tackle comes back. He hasn't played this year. Mm-hmm. They do have some injuries on defense. A couple defensive linemen might be out. Their 2 corners will still be out, but they've been out all year. Their backups have looked pretty good, but again, quality of competition, not the greatest. The offense has looked a little bit different. There's not as wide of splits. They're not throwing as deep. And I think part of that is like Aguilar picked up the offense late. So it's kind of a compromise of what Heupel usually runs. It's pretty similar, but a lot of RPO, a lot of play action. So we'll see how that offense looks against a major step up in quality. The Georgia defense, I do think, is legit. And Kirby Smart has owned Josh Heupel, who averages close to, I think, 40 points per game during his tenure at Tennessee. Against Georgia, averaged 2 touchdowns a game. That's it. Never 4 meetings, has never crossed the 17-point mark. The major questions in this game coming into it are the Georgia offense. Gunnar Stockton, they're not throwing downfield. The downfield passing has been pretty on the few times they have done it. Is there something wrong with Stockton? Is there going to be explosiveness here? The offensive line has rotated a ton of guys. Looks like they'll have their full complement of guys up front, but there's still questions remain about this offense. And I think the biggest storyline going into this game, one, is twofold about Gunnar Stockton. One, how we perform. It's his first true road start, right? Like hostile environment. We've seen quarterbacks struggle in that scenario already this year. And 2, was Georgia just playing dead? Hey, we're not going to show anything. It's typical Kirby Smart. Whenever you play nobody, he does nothing. I think he's 0-15 against the spread now as a favorite of 38 or more, where they just holding everything back. And now you're going to see that offense open up with an improved wide receiver core. A lot of storylines, a lot of different ways that you can attack this. What are you seeing here?
There is a way to attack this game, and I was hoping many people didn't actually see Kirby Smart's presser because he kind of like let the cat out of the bag about how this game always goes. And I was thinking to myself early in the week, can you please allow the first half lines come out before you give this away to everybody? And you're right. Tennessee's not finished within 14 points in this series like since 2016. This has just been a complete domination from the Georgia side. And Gunnar Stockton, they haven't really had him throw downfield. So you know that this is going to be short dumps to Zachariah Branch, Colby Young, kind of let them create explosives on the ground and see what that secondary can do. Coverage numbers have been okay for Tennessee, but the bad thing has been the rush defense so far, outside the top 100 in success rate. So you wonder if Nate Frazier and Chauncey Bowens are going to have a big day. They're 3.5 yards after first contact. So they're at least above average in what they can do in creating highlight yards. They've forced 10 missed tackles already. So it's not
And
the
you could
best.
see Stockton's legs more here. Obviously, you're probably not going to run him a lot against the dregs, but you could see his legs.
And they probably held him back just for this, right? Because
Yeah.
we know what Georgia is. I mean, if Kent State's like within 10 points of you at halftime, that's pure Georgia just playing base offense and defense. Tennessee, they haven't defended the run well, so we'll see that. I mean, from pressure perspective, edge Joshua Josephs, he's going to get paid in the NFL draft. He's got 7 pressures already. So the key is, can Georgia stay in standard downs? Can they keep the chains moving? Both corners, Ty Redmond and Colton Hood, they have 2 PBUs, so we're going to see a real matchup here, but I do think it's going to be ground-based. I think the other side of the ball is what dictates my play. Joey Aguilar, 5 TDs, no interceptions, no turnover-worthy plays, but the A-dot is not as deep, as like you mentioned. He hasn't really taken shots downfield. Wideout Chris Brazell has been unbelievable outside, 3.8 yards per route run, so he has been the home run threat. And Tennessee's offense so far, they're top 20 in success rate, finishing drives. You'd expect that against Syracuse. You'd expect that against who they've been playing against. But those are both components. I think we should mention that at this time last year, being top 20 in success rate and finishing drives on offense, that was not a part of the offense last year under Nico. So it's at least a little bit of improvement considering who they've played. 6 different corners for Georgia have allowed 13 of 21 targets to be caught. I'm a little bit nervous about the corner position for Georgia. Georgia's about mid FBS and havoc. That could be on design because you know how they do Stuck. They like to run 4, drop everybody else back. They're not going to show you a blitz package at this point in the season. So I'm not really worried about that. Here's where the play comes in. This game has had at least 30 points in the first half of every season since 2019. Kirby Smart came out in the presser on Monday, and he's like, tempo is a huge problem in this game. We get into this game, Heupel's offense hits us. We can't simulate it in practice. They do all these things, and then it turns into a boat race for a while until we settle down in the second half. Immediately, I hit the first half over. And, you're seeing some money. It's kind of bobbled around the full game between 49 and 50. I think this game has a chance to, again, for, I don't know what, the 7th straight year, go over 30 points. And some of those times it's been over 40 points. And the reason is because these players on defense for Georgia just have not seen this kind of offense and seen this kind of tempo and seen this kind of wide split stretch spread that they're going to see here in this hostile environment. I fully expect Tennessee to take advantage of that in the first quarter. And then Georgia's probably going to have to go tempo with Bobo, who doesn't mind airing it out either. So I'm going first half over in this game. If I was to take a side, I'd say this number's gone way too far. I make it 5. I'm not sure what you make it, but I make it 5. I think it's gone too far. I think you've seen some sharp buyback. I haven't seen any 3s on the board, but if it touched that, I wouldn't be surprised if it just got scooped up and banged out again. But I don't know. I think if I had to take a side, I would definitely take Georgia at 3.5. But I like the first half over.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, I made it like around 5.5. So would lean Georgia at current. I actually like the full game under, just the way that I see it playing out. Kirby has Heupel's number. I do trust this Georgia defense. The Tennessee offensive line has some questions. I don't trust Aguilar. This is my biggest question coming into the year against an elite SEC level defense. Probably going to make a couple mistakes. And I know Georgia has basically been playing possum, but I don't know if I fully trust Gunnar Stockton on the road, hostile environment, and his downfield passing. So is Tennessee going to be able to load the box against the run? So I know they haven't showed much, so there's a lot of uncertainty here. But especially at 50 plus, I like the under. I would lean Georgia. But this is like, hey, we're going to learn a lot about both teams. Is Tennessee a serious contender for the college football playoff? How serious of a contender is Georgia? We can actually see what they look like when they are showing everything. So can't wait to watch it. I might be on the full game under in some capacity. I think this is like.
I think you get a better under number live around the middle of the second quarter, though.
Yeah, maybe take some pregame and look for some live too. I think this ends up being like I'll call it a 24-17, 24. Yeah, let's say 24-17, 27-20, Georgia win. That's my prediction, but still a lot of uncertainty. And I just don't know if Stockton is going to be able to throw it downfield. And that's basically what I'm looking for early on. Really fascinating game. Let's stay in the SEC with Texas A&M, who's going to travel up to South Bend to take on Notre Dame. Pretty good spot situationally for Notre Dame. Coming off an opening season loss, they have a bye week. Marcus Freeman has been fantastic. Off of bye weeks, I think he's 6-0 against the spread with extra rest. So it's like season openers, whenever there's like 12 or more days of rest. I think he's 12-1 against the spread, although he did lose this week or this year against Miami. Texas A&M on the road, not coming off of a bye. Their offense looked pretty good. Defense still has some question marks, and I don't know if we've seen those answered against inferior competition. There's been some holes on that side of the ball. So looks Notre Dame's 6.5 point favorite here. Total is ticked up to 50.5. This is a huge game for both teams. So Notre Dame, you lose this, you're 0-2. Your schedule end gets really soft. Like the USC game might be your only ranked game left. So even if you run the table, maybe you get the benefit of the doubt as the Notre Dame brand name, but college football playoff then becomes a major question mark. Texas A&M, it's not as urgent, but you look at their schedule, you want to get one of those at-larges, this win would go a long way in helping Texas A&M's case. Gun in my head, I'd lean Texas A&M with the points, especially at 7, but I do respect Notre Dame in this spot. Carr got his feet feet under him, looked better as that game went on. I do expect them, and I don't mind the over here. Yeah. Kind of a sneaky over. Like Elko is going to play like his. I'm curious to see what he has up his sleeve, but he's going to play like his shell coverages, try to take away the explosive. It looks like their run defense has some issues. Well, Notre Dame, if you're going to have Jeremiah Love, this is the game you unleash him. This is the game you give him the ball. He only had like 10 to 12 carries against Miami. You're talking about load management. Well, you had a bye week. This is your hardest game remaining in basically a must-win. Unleash him. I think there'll be some explosive runs. And I think that Texas A&M offensive line can win up front, and Texas A&M will be move the ball. What will the Texas A&M passing game? Do you trust Marcel Reed, these new receivers? We haven't seen it against quality competition. Can they do enough through the air? I think there's the opportunity for some points on the board here. So my first look is over, and I would take A&M at the points, but I respect Freeman in the Notre Dame spot. What are you seeing here?
My money, I loved it so much. I hit both over and the first half over. Like I loved it that much early this week. There's so many that I don't know which side to start on first, but let's just say I'll start on Texas A&M side with offense. Like Marcel Reed and left tackle Trey Zoon, they're going to be healthy. They're going to be fine. There was, them coming out of the game a little bit banged up, but Elko said they're fine and they're practicing this week. Reed has looked like a completely different person, but I would expect that considering he's being protected, a little bit more maturity, plus the weapons that he has now that are not hurt. Also, 7 TDs, no INTs, no turnover-worthy plays. He has shaved his release time. His pressure to sack ratio has been cut in half down to 7%. He is playing at a much higher level than he did last year. Le'Veon Moss got
caveat of the competition has been the greatest. Their defense is based.
True, but the numbers are better at this point in the season than they were last year.
Yep.
Le'Veon Moss got his first TD, so the running game is looking like it's getting better. You worry about his injury lingering into this season. He's 4.5 yards after first contact. That's what you want to see is highlight yards when you suffer an injury like he does. But the difference in this team, everybody wants to talk about Mario Craver from Mississippi State coming in, and he does have unbelievable yards per route run numbers out there. But that is not the reason why the day after the national title game, I wrote up Texas A&M 50-1 to win the national title. I'm not saying they're going to win the national title, but at 50-1, I thought it was ridiculous because of the addition of Casey Concepcion. I saw Casey Concepcion just completely turn NC State games up on top of their head because of what he does when he slices over the middle. His yards per route run right now are around 2.5. So it doesn't matter. I'm telling you, he is one of the best in the nation, lining up in the slot, going on a slant, and good luck after he gets the ball trying to take this guy down on the ground. He's had 13 targets this season. 10 of them have been between the hash marks. Why is this so important? Let's just think about this for a second. What is the best part of Notre Dame's defense? Shut down corners, Christian Gray and Leonard Moore. They hang out on the sides. These are national championship playing corners. That is not where Casey Concepcion is lining up. He's going directly over the middle. If you look at Notre Dame's defense, they were pretty horrific against Carson Beck and a slew of wide receivers. But where did Carson Beck attack Notre Dame? Straight over the middle. Malachi Toney caught all his balls over the middle directly. 11 targets in between the hashes for Malachi Toney. That's where Notre Dame got chewed up. That's exactly where Casey Concepcion is going to be. I think Texas A&M is going to score their fair share of points. Can they win this game? I do think the number is a little bit too high. But CJ Carr, Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, I think they're going to have their way with this Texas A&M defense. I am not liking what I'm seeing here. They're outside the top 100 in tackling. They're outside the top 100 in defensive finishing drives. The Aggies have already missed 22 tackles this season. Now, that's fundamentals, and Elko can get that fixed. They can fix the tackling. But they're just not stiff when possessions have gotten past the 40-yard line. When I say that, listen to these offenses. Utah State and UTSA have had 8 possessions cross the Aggies' 40-yard line. They've averaged 4.3 points per trip. That's a lot. Robert Henry Jr. of UTSA averaged 11 yards per carry on 16 attempts against this Texas A&M. I would love to say this Texas A&M defense is going to step up against Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, and what CJ Carr can do with his legs. But if Robert Henry of UTSA is running 11 yards per carry on 16 attempts, first half over. If Texas A&M can play any lick of defense here whatsoever, I would say Casey Concepcion is the difference in the Aggies would win, but I just don't have that much faith in the Texas A&M defense.
Yeah, we'll see if Elko can fix it over the course of the year, but there's definitely still some holes on that side of the ball. The Notre Dame defense, you lost one of the best defensive coordinators. They're playing a bit different schematically, at least through one game, so curious to see what they do on that side of the ball, but that should be a good one, and it will definitely have college football playoff implications. All right, let's go back to an all-SEC matchup. Florida at LSU. LSU, a 7.5-point favorite. Total sitting at 47.5. I played Florida. I love Florida here. Look, I'm a buyer of LSU.
Against your team?
Yep. I'm a buyer of LSU, but what do we get every week? Data points. And maybe that week 1 matchup was just about how bad Clemson was. And they might be even worse than I thought.
You've taken a shot on them, and we haven't even got to them yet. You're already taking a shot on Dabo.
And once again, they're getting bet against all week in the market. And look, you watched that game against La Tech last week. It wasn't great from an offensive line standpoint. They might be without their center, Braylon Moore. That's massive because if he can't go, DJ Chester, who is not an SEC caliber center, will have to go. And who is Florida getting back? Caleb Banks on the defensive line. They need him desperately. He can wreak havoc on this game. Up the middle, Nussmeier's not going to be able to use his legs. That interior pressure, I think, can cause some problems for LSU. The run game isn't quite there yet, and it's not like Nussmeier has been spectacular. The defense, LSU's defense is significantly improved. I like Baker, you don't, but they're probably going to be aggressive here. I think Lagway can take advantage, hit some explosive passes. That's his biggest strength. I'm just buying the 7.5 here. Look, Florida lost that game last week. I think they were partly looking ahead to this week. They looked unfocused. They also had injuries during camp. So I think with each passing week, Lagway, that offense will start to look better. They need Wilson back, but I don't think Dallas Wilson, I don't think they're going to get him back here. But Banks being back is huge. LSU's center being out, potentially huge. Trey'Dez Green out. That'll hurt in the red zone. I think this will just be, and look, everyone's talking about Billy Napier. Billy Napier, he's gone. To his credit, well, first to his detriment, they've had these games in the beginning of the seasons, like disasters every year. Remember that Utah game? They looked off. They've found a way to bounce back. And Napier has thrived as a dog. 26-12 against the spread as an underdog. 68.5% covering by a touchdown per game. 12-5 against the spread when catching over a touchdown. 13-6 overall as an underdog against SEC teams. He thrives in this role. I think this will be a lower scoring game than many might think. Points at a premium makes that 7.5 look a bit more juicy. So, yeah, I think LSU, I still love their potential, their upside. And by the way, this season is so wide open. Like, usually it's like, you got to tell me one of 3 or 4 teams that will win it all. Now, you could tell me like 8, 1 of 8. And it's because of all the quarterback uncertainty and all the teams with young quarterbacks and unproven quarterbacks. LSU at least has that. But their offensive line, the run game, some of the injuries, I think this game is close. I'm buying low on Florida to keep this close in Death Valley. What say you?
You want to put it on the board? I agree with you.
Put it on the board. All right. Agree tab. By the way, we are 2-2 on the year. And 37, 26, and 1 overall. Our first agree. Your boy, Billy Napier, plus 7.5. What are you saying?
Yeah, I think really where you want to start is what happened to this offense last week. When you look at this offensive performance, I really wanted to go deep into the box score and say, what is going on here? So really the problem was all on the defensive side, wasn't the offensive side. 5 of the 10 drives had at least 2 plus first downs. 2 methodical drives, which means 10 plays in the drive, and at least 5.6 yards per play. There was nothing wrong with the offense. I mean, the drive log, look at it, field goal, punt, INT, punt, safety, touchdown, punt. Like 3 field goals to start off the game. I mean, you're that close to making this have margin against South Florida. Jaden Baugh now averaging 5 yards after first contact, 17 missed tackles forced on 27 attempts. That's a crazy high number. Florida's defense never stuffed the run against the Bulls. They allowed more than 6 yards per play. That has got to get fixed.
They weren't getting any pressure. They haven't gotten any pressure this year. I will say their right tackle situation, the young kid, he did look better last week, which gives me a little bit more confidence. But Banks being back will help with the pressure on the defensive line. He's their best player up there.
Well, and then South Florida has an 8-play, 87-yard drive at the end for a Grammatica field goal kick. I mean, Florida also had 11 penalties. I mean,
they were sloppy.
A couple of those two things change. We have a completely different narrative about the Gators here. Can LSU's rush offense take advantage of that? I don't think that they can. I mean, their rush offense right now is bottom 15 in success rate. They're bottom 15 in line yards, which I'm shocked because after I saw Caden Durham in week 1 against Clemson, I thought this was going to be all world. Then he has 13 rushing attempts. There's really not a lot of flashiness in any of the numbers that he put up against La Tech. Garrett Nussmeier already has 3 turnover-worthy plays this season. I'm a little bit shocked by that. He has as many big-time throws as turnover-worthy plays. None of them came on blitz. That's where I couldn't believe when I got into the numbers is like Nussmeier's made these 3 mistakes. None of them came against blitz. I also took under, first half under. I think if you can get 24, they're super slow offenses like 29.8 seconds per play, 30.6. LSU is really struggling in the red zone. Just 4 of their 8 trips have resulted in a TD. They're averaging 2.8 points for every possession that crosses the 40-yard line. LSU's offense, and you mentioned the injuries, especially the center. Braylon Moore might not be in this with his ankle sprain. I'm on the board. We're on the board for Florida. I'm going to bet it now. One of the 7 halves just disappeared. There's still like 3 more out there as we're podcasting, so I'm going to hit it right now, and you and I'll be in agreement.
All right. Yeah, USF Miami. I hate to do this to my Bulls. I laid it with Miami. Still go that way at 17.5. I think this sets out to be a blowout.
Yeah.
This is a horrible spot. Like, just they come off. USF's coming off 2 ranked wins. Miami's coming off a bye. Miami also won't be overlooking them. They just beat Florida. Other team. Now I get Chris Paul could screw this up, and he's been horrible. Chris Paul's been horrible as a big favorite. It's a favorite of more than 2 touchdowns, 11 and 19 against the spread. But one of his wins came last year against USF when they won 50-15. So like USF's already done their job. They've won 2 ranked games. All they have to do is basically go 10-2. They could lose this game, and they could lose another game and win the American. They're going to be the group of 5 participant. Like, no one else is getting in over them. With the hardest non-conference schedule in the country, if they're 10-2 and they win the American, they're in. So they've already done their job. What does that mean here? Well, maybe you don't run Brown as much. Like, that's possible, especially if you're behind. Like, you just got to keep him healthy. They also just could run out of gas, which I think is what happens here. Miami's going to be much pressure. From a matchup perspective, Also, Golish plays to win these games. He doesn't say, like, I'm going to try to just keep it respectable. They're going to go fast. They're going to try to win. They're going to be aggressive. And what does that mean, though? Like, if it's not hitting, if they're wearing down, like, you could have quick 3-and-outs, and then it just snowballs and can get ugly. And from a matchup perspective, Miami's offensive line is going to handle USF, and I think Miami can move the ball however they want. On the other side of the ball, USF, they lost a lot of backs, so their running game without Brown is just not the same as it was last year. Now, Brown has been amazing. Their passing offense has relied on a ton of explosives. I mean, go look at their down-to-down success rate against Boise. I don't think that they're going to be able to block Miami, and I don't think they're going to be able to run consistently. What does that mean? We're going to set up – there's going to be a lot of third and longs, and Miami doesn't need to blitz. Miami's DNs are just going to win on the outside. Brown will still make some plays, but Miami can just play coverage in the back, prevent these explosive plays, and they're going to get some sacks and kill drives, and there's going to be some 3-and-outs. And I think this thing could snowball quickly. So it's just a horrible spot. I'm back in Mario for the second time this year. I hate it, but I'm on Miami.
We can yell spot, but I got some stuff to back it up to say that Miami's probably needs a little bit of consideration for national title. I can't believe that just came out of my mouth.
Wow.
The Hurricanes.
180.
The Hurricanes missed 3 tackles against Bethune-Cookman. I get it. It's Bethune-Cookman, but it's only they missed 3 tackles. How many did they miss against Notre Dame that has a rushing attack of Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, and CJ Carr? A very nimble CJ Carr in the second half that was just juking and dodging. They missed 7 tackles. Miami is playing under Corey Heatherman. They are playing so much better defense. They are so much more buttoned up. Right now, their penalties are like 71st. Usually they're dead last. There are so many. They're 18th in defensive rush EPA. They're not missing tackles. They're tackling at the second level. And I haven't even gotten into what Carson Beck is doing with some of these weapons that they have. Forget the offense. The offense is fine. But what I look for with Miami every year is fundamentals on defense that get them in trouble. Stupid penalties, missed tackles, second-level mistakes in coverage. Haven't seen it from them at all. And I think they need serious consideration for what they're going to do on the outside of the ACC. We can talk about that another day because this is just a bad spot for South Florida. But if they get Byron Brown, well, so my bet, officially I have my money down on Miami first quarter. Why? Because South Florida has not scored in the first quarter yet, right? Despite these wins against Boise and Florida, they didn't score in the first quarter. They've come out pretty slow. And South Florida's only scored 1 touchdown in the first half of each game. I think Miami first quarter, Miami first half, Miami full game, however you want to play it. If you want to put it on the board of agreements, we can. I think,
we'll put it on there.
Yeah,
I also think that I don't hate that. I don't hate the early plays.
Yeah.
But I also think there's a chance that South Florida eventually wears down, and then this gets even slippier late.
I mean, like from a recruiting perspective, don't you think Galesh is like out there, like telling the kids in the state of Florida, like, look what we just did, Like, I mean, he's got it. He's won his recruiting war. He's planted his flag. Don't need this one so much.
Yep. All right. Lastly, for the last marquee game, another SEC bout. Great day in the SEC. Vandy, South Carolina. Vandy on the road again after dominating Virginia Tech. Give me the points. I think Vandy might be the better team, to be honest. I don't think that there's much separating these teams. We're looking for data points early in the season. And by the way, Diego, 8-2 against the spread as an underdog at Vanderbilt, 4-0 against the spread on the road, 5 of those 10 outright upsets. We want data points early in the year. What other data points do you want than these two teams played the same team already? They played Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech and South Carolina basically played to a stalemate. Virginia Tech had more yards. The yards per play were basically even. The difference was a punt return because of an illegal formation. Meanwhile, Vanderbilt went, and that was on a neutral field. Vanderbilt went into Blacksburg. Now, I know that there was some offensive line injuries, but they dominated. The total yards was 490 to 248. They averaged 8.6 yards per play to 4.1 for Virginia Tech. Like I said, South Carolina actually got outgained by Virginia Tech, even with like a late 80-yard touchdown, 336 to 328. Okay, well, let's look at what South Carolina did last week. They played South Carolina State, 42.5-point favorites at home. South Carolina State outgained them. The yards per play were 4.4 to 4.4. The South Carolina team is not good. Sellers is 11 and 19 for 128 yards. They have no run game. The running backs can't. Their offensive line is bad. The receivers don't really scare anyone. Maybe Harbor will break one every once in a while. Their defense is way down, and there's defensive injuries. Dealing with a bunch of injuries on that side of the ball. I trust Pavi and this Vanderbilt offense more. This South Carolina team, I think, is in trouble. I'll take the points. I respect the home field advantage at night in this big game. These two teams are chirping. It's going to be fun to watch, but Diego and the points.
Yeah, and don't forget to mention his sidekick, Cedric Alexander, who's 5.1 yards after first contact. That's some highlight yards right there. I think I went a little bit deeper on this game because I love Vanderbilt too. We can put it on the board. There's a 4 out there. They're starting to disappear. I wouldn't be surprised this closes 3 by the time we get to Saturday's show.
I think there's a 4.5 still out there.
Is there? Yeah, I just bought 4 while you were talking, and I should have been on this earlier.
Nope, it's gone. I'll put 4.
Okay. So, listen, real quick.
3.5's fine too, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, we'll hit the end of the show. I'll tell you why. I think 3.5, 3, 2.5, 2 is good. But listen, run concept-wise, we know what Diego and Cedric Alexander are running. It's man and power. This year, there's been a little bit of an increase in inside zone, but you go to South Carolina's D, they're 71st in line yards right now. They are not controlling the line of scrimmage, and you've talked about the competition that they just faced. They have a low 36% success rate against man and power run concepts. That's exactly what Vanderbilt's going to shove down their throat. You mentioned the yard per play difference with South Carolina State. And, they're 99.
Look at the difference between what those two teams did versus Vatech. Like, you can't ask for better data points. Like, they played 2 games each. One was versus Vatech, and one was versus an FCS team. Vandy dominated Vatech on the road. South Carolina played them basically to a stalemate on a neutral field. I have nothing else to say other than that. And I trust that we were low in South Carolina coming into the year already.
I caught a bunch of shit in the preseason pod for saying that Lenora Sellers lost all the beef around him and that he's got a bunch of 290-pound running backs running next to him. Oscar Adaway is a leading rusher on this team. He's forced just 5 missed tackles. That's it.
Sellers hasn't fixed some of his footwork, his processing. Right. He's still struggling throwing the ball. He's super talented. He's still going to be highly targeted by NFL teams, but he's still got a long way to go.
One last stat: Gamecocks have allowed 12 tackles for loss, and they've had 2 fumbles on offense so far. Their havoc allowed number is horrible. Vanderbilt has already created 15 tackles for loss, so Vanderbilt is going to be behind the line of scrimmage all day.
Yeah, I've liked what I've seen from that front on Vandy. And that South Carolina's wide receivers don't really scare me. And yeah, that defense is way down. They lost a ton of talent. Now they're dealing with injuries, especially in the secondary. So I like Vandy. We put it on the board. All right, let's move on to the rundown. We'll hit a bunch of games quickly. Wisconsin at Alabama. Alabama 20.5 point favorite, total 45.5, 46.5.
Did you get a Billy Edwards update today? I couldn't get one.
He's out. Billy Edwards is out, so you're going to get Danny O'Neal. Their center, Jake Renfro, also might be out. That's worth watching. Alabama looks like they're going to be healthier in here. This game, Brian Williams. Wisconsin does have a really good corner, but they might attack the other corner as a freshman. But I believe in this Wisconsin defense. I do think it's legit this year. I do think they improved the defensive front. Still not fully sold on the Alabama offense, despite what they did to poor little UL Monroe last week. So but I don't see – I don't know how this Wisconsin offense is going to do much against the Alabama defense with Danny O'Neal. And their center might be out, which I think is big and worth watching. So, this isn't the type of offense that gives Alabama problems. So, my first look is under. I do think, if this gets over 21, I might look at Wisconsin. I wouldn't love it. I don't think Danny O'Neal is going to have much success. But I do think it's going to be lower scoring. So, and I believe in the Wisconsin D. So, at over 3 touchdowns – which you might get, you're probably going to get a bunch of, maybe public money, and maybe there's not any real buyback on Wisconsin after the injury news. At over 21, I'd look at Wisconsin, lean under. Do you see anything there?
Yeah, actually, I was going to wait till this podcast, and there's still 24s out there. I thought this was a first half under all game. For a lot of things that you mentioned with the Wisconsin injuries and what's going on that side of the ball, I'm not sure they're going to be able to score their amount of points. But without Jam Miller for Bama, and they want to try to run the ball, you're not getting a lot out of Richard Young. And
he might be back. He's a game time decision.
Well, then that'll probably be my decision whether I play a first half under or not, because Richard Young and the rest of the running backs are just not producing any numbers for Alabama out of the backfield whatsoever. So And then you look at Wisconsin, like Dylan Jones and Darian Dupree, like they've failed to create a 15-yard run against Middle Tennessee and Miami of Ohio. Your two top running backs for Wisconsin with Jeff Grimes has not produced a 15-yard run. First half under if Jam's not playing.
Latham, Jam Miller, Tim Keenan is also another big one. I want to see if he's in there. They're all game time decisions for Alabama. And then the centers who you're watching, and it looks like it's not going to be Billy Edwards. It's going to be Danny O'Neal.
How have you not created a 15-yard run against Middle Tennessee and Miami of Ohio?
Seems impossible. Miami of Ohio does take away explosives. Middle Tennessee, come on. All right, I'll share my quick thoughts on this one. ULL at Missouri.
This is y'all.
Beulah looked pretty good. I got a take on this game. I don't think ULL scoring. So there's a couple weird bets that I'm looking at for this game. I like ULL team total under. I hope I can get a 10, but it's probably going to be 9.5, but I still would like it. I don't mind, like, on FanDuel, you can, like, parlay the under and then Ole Miss, like, under 48.5, under 48.5, Missouri minus 26.5, like, plus 330. I'm also going to throw a little Missouri to win by shutout, plus 650. ULL, if you don't know, they're down to a backup quarterback who went 0 of 6 when he came in against Rice. And like it was ugly last week against McNeese until late. I just don't know how they score in this game. They're going to get dominated at the line of scrimmage. Their quarterback is terrible. I don't really love the full game under because I'm afraid Missouri doesn't have a kicker, which is going to be something worth noting. They lost their kicker for the year. So last week they had this freshman, and Drink said like the longest he wanted them to go was like the 25-yard line, like a 25-yard field goal. And he went for it a bunch on 4th downs. So there like could be some variance with like Missouri putting up a big number here. I don't think ULL scores. So I might look like an idiot, but I just don't see the path for them moving the ball. I mean, you look at this team, it's ugly, their offense right now. So that's something that I'm looking at. You don't have anything there, do you?
No, I good luck.
Missouri to win by shutout. We'll clip this or make fun of me on the recap show on Sunday. 959 bad beat, by the way. Don't forget about the voicemail. Backyard brawl. West Virginia off a bad loss. It's not a bad, but not a great result at Ohio. They will host Pitt. This is a game 2007. Rich Rod lost. Ended up costing them a shot at the national championship. He ended up leaving. Huge game there, but I don't know. The injuries for West Virginia, they lost their leading rusher, one of the best receivers, middle linebacker. They have a bunch of injuries. They didn't look great last week against Ohio, especially after they lost some of those guys. Pitt's out to a 7.5 point favorite. Total 55.5 to 56.5. With his injuries, this makes it tough, but now that it's over a touchdown, it seems pretty rich. It'd be ears or nothing for me. You got anything there?
Yeah, over because of the tempo in the game. 21.5 seconds per play for West Virginia, 23 seconds per play for Pitt. I mean, this Pitt offense is faster than they were last year. They're also 25th in pass EPA right now. I think there's a chance for explosives, and I just don't see Rich Rod. As many injuries as they have, it's either a 3 and out or it's going to be one of the fastest drives that they have all day, and I think that's going to lead to extra possessions, extra points. I'm going to play over here.
The Shula Bowl. If you haven't checked out the group of 5 guys, make sure you check out Duck and Breeze. I'm going to disagree with Breeze here. I think this is the year FIU finally gets FAU. I actually like this FIU defense. Was digging in a little bit more. I like the secondary. That's going to be important against FAU. I think they're going to be able to move the ball. I think this is the year FIU gets them. Then finally, little revenge game. Darian Mensah.
You
going
cannot
back to Tulane.
Yeah.
It's Duke or nothing for me. I don't believe in these Tulane receivers. I still don't believe in Retzlaff. It was troubling against South Alabama, who looked horrific the week before. I think Duke gets pressure.
Did you know that all 10 opponent possessions that have crossed the Duke 40-yard line have ended in a touchdown? Their finishing drives is the worst. I mean, the defense is something's wrong.
Well, they missed their All-American safety for one, who's hurt. So their secondary has taken a bit of a hit there. But that part of that's been a little unlucky. I mean, they've never been unlucky, but they were lucky last year, so maybe it's coming for them. But I think Duke gets it done. Who do you like in the game?
I want to back Duke, but I need better finishing drives. You think I'm going to take the team that's worse in the nation in finishing drives? You know me. I'm starting to get some data. You get me to week 3, and I won't shut up about finishing drives.
regression, baby. Tulane won't score a touchdown inside the 20 this week. I like Duke there. All right, look ahead or look away. Well, that's a quick segment if you're new here. We look at games the teams played last week, and then next week see if that could factor in whether teams might pull their starters sooner than usual, maybe not show as much. Texas State at Arizona State. Arizona State has Baylor on deck, but they're coming off a loss to Mississippi State. Dillingham, this is all gas, no brakes. I don't think that they're going to be looking ahead or anything. I like the Texas State offense. I like their new quarterback, Jackson. It looks like an over to me.
Yeah, it's got to be an over. I mean, the market is not agreeing with what I'm seeing, which is I thought Texas State, what they averaged 9.1 yards per play against Eastern Michigan. They had more yards per play than UTSA in their loss. Texas State, they're top 10 in EPA, and Arizona State is 105th in coverage grading. So I thought Texas State could hang. The market
beat UTSA, by the way. They put up 43.
Yeah, I mean, the market's going the other way. I thought Texas State could hang, so maybe it's just a pure over game.
I don't have interest in the dog. I think Arizona State wants to put it on them, and I don't know how Texas State's going to get many stops, but I think they'll put up their fair share of points. So over or nothing there. UMass at Iowa. Iowa off Cyhawk. Short week. Rutgers on deck.
Come on.
This game, what a disaster. I mean,
if this isn't in your trash, then we know you're not taking it.
Yeah, I don't know how you bet this game. UMass has taken money, which is funny. It's 34.5 at some places.
They didn't win yards per play against Bryant.
Well, there's down the total's down to 42.5.
What's the spread?
Iowa minus 34.5. Here's the thing: I can't lay 5 touchdowns with this Iowa offense right now. I'm sure they want to throw it more, like to get Gronowski throwing before Big Ten play. So that's like an angle, but can they actually do it? UMass is maybe down 8-9 starters, by the way. Their quarterback's out. Their receiver, they're all across the board. I tweeted a list. Like they might be down 8 to 9 starters. This is UMass. Well, it's not the deepest team in the country.
I can say this.
I can't bet this game.
I'll say this too. I went to look to see if Iowa has a hangover after Cyhawk. In previous years, they've won by 17, 31, 27, 23, and 45. So there's not really a hangover for Iowa. Maybe a first half bet if they can air it out and be successful, maybe. But UMass isn't stopping them from doing anything.
But Iowa stops themselves. I literally have no idea what's going to happen in that game.
That 2-minute drill was completely backwards last week against Iowa State.
Unbelievable. But UMass special teams are a disaster. So the special teams matchup in this game is.
Does this get a TV for you? Or does this get a little TV for you? No,
I have too many. I'm going to have too many bets on Saturday. It's week 3. I start to ramp up. I'll check it out every once in a while. I'll pull it up to laugh, but no, Iowa might have 2 touchdowns on special teams though. Central Michigan at Michigan. Michigan 27.5 point favorite. Total 42.5. Another one. I can't lay points to this Michigan offense. Biff Pogge's going to be the head coach for this one. Sharon Moore is suspended. I just don't like this Michigan offense. I don't like Chip Lindsey. I don't like their weapons. I don't like the offensive line. I think Underwood's good, but he's still a true freshman. I assume you want to open it up here, though.
Yeah.
Throw it. You got to. But Central Michigan's going to try to just shorten this game to nothing, which is not ideal when you're trying to lay 27.5 with an offense that has some limitations. But this looks about right to me. You got anything there?
Yeah, Drinkall's been running a lot of power and some inside zone. And Michigan so far, they're 44% success rate against inside zone, which, that does come against John Mateer and not the all-powerful Chips. But the problem is, I think the number should be in the 30s. So I think it's already accounted for the spot. So I think the market's already corrected for the spot with Nebraska on deck. So no play for me.
All right, Action Network app. It's free. And if you're new here and you do not have it, you are missing out on the full BBOC betting experience. Use code BBOC20 to get $20 off a year of Action Pro access and never miss a bet from myself, Colin, Duck, the whole squad. So make sure you check out the award-winning Action Network app. All right, let's get to, oh, baby, some trash. Every year, there's a week where the trash list is extensive. You know when you forget your trash? You forget to put your trash out that random week, and then the trash piles up, and then you got a trash can that's overflowing. You got to put it out on your street. That's what we got here. All right, let's go through the board. Let's start noon, big noon or big 12-15. Northwestern plus 28 against Oregon. I mean, before the year, I made this 21. Downgraded Northwestern a little bit. I have upgraded Oregon. They have looked great, but they've played in Oregon, in Eugene, against Oklahoma State, who might be finished 2-10 again, and an FCS team. I know they look great, but this is an 8 a.m. body clock start for them. They have Penn State on deck. How much you really want to show? Northwestern, they've already talked about slowing this game down, limiting the possessions. Their defense will just focus on trying to take away the explosive. Give me a Dante Moore pick or two.
Oh, stop.
Here, it's coming. Dante Moore on the road, pick 6, plus 28. Good spot with Northwestern. Too many points. I can't get to this number, and it's a good spot. Why would you show much here? You got Penn State next week, who's off a bye. It's like scouting you, watching this game. Now, granted, they're backup quarterbacks they like, and they're pretty good. So even if they go backup quarterbacks, they might. The athletic mismatch here is pretty. It's going to jump off the page. But that's why we're getting 4 touchdowns. Yes or no?
No. Dan Lanning went to Purdue last year, beat him 35-0. Dan Lanning went to Michigan last year, beat him 38-17. He is not one of these coaches that has a problem crossing 2 time zones into the Central Time Zone. This number to me is
that 35-0 was against Purdue. Did they beat Purdue 30-0? Like this number, Northwestern was catching this number against Ohio State last year, and they covered, by the way. Like this, I'm not ready to say this Oregon team is on the level of Ohio State last year. So no,
I am. Corey Moore is going to score 28 by himself. I know. I'm not joining you on this. Good luck.
Temple against Oklahoma.
What the fuck is this number? Can we just stop?
This is the spot of the year, and so Oklahoma. There's many reasons why this is spot of the year. The obvious ones. They just played Michigan. They have 8, and they have Auburn on deck. The Jackson Arnold rematch game.
Jackson Arnold game.
They have 8 SEC ranked teams left on their schedule. What does that mean here? You do not run Mateer. Like you get a lead. You don't get them hurt. You don't play them the whole game like you did against whoever they played in week 1. Missouri State, or who did they play? Missouri State? Illinois State. You do not play in the whole game. And by the way, what does that mean if they don't play Mateer the whole game? Well, Venables came out today and said he wants to keep Hawkins's red shirt. He came out yesterday and said this. So they don't want to use him for random series. So if they get a big lead, pull Mateer, that means they'll go to this kid, Whit Neubauer, a Mercer transfer. So you're going to have like an FCS quarterback in there if they get a big lead. But I could a noon kick, like half-empty stadium. I know there might be more Oklahoma fans than Temple fans, but Casey Keeler knows this game's important. Temple's had the circle. They lost 52-3 last year. They had 6 turnovers. It was a mess. I think Oklahoma's going to come out sleepy. And what do I think they do in this game? Like, just preserve bodies. They need to work on their run game. Their run game is atrocious unless you're just running Mateer, who's really good at it. But you don't want to waste Mateer against Temple before you got 8 SEC ranked teams. So I think they're going to work on the run game, like their offensive line, their run blocking, their running backs. What are their running backs are averaging 2.8 yards per carry through 2 games. So I think Temple's going to shorten this game, and I think Temple's really improved. Now it could just be a result of their schedule. They played Howard and they played UMass, but they have dominated those games.
Yeah,
and Simon has looked good. I mean, he has the highest completion percentage in the country, 77%. He has 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. They can rely on Ducker here, hand the ball. They can. Short passing, bleed the clock. I think you're going to see backups for Oklahoma. I think they're going to work on their run game. They're not going to show much. Sleepy spot. Wouldn't be surprised if they come out completely lethargic. I'm on Temple. The line has been
getting right in the middle of this pod. Like someone touched 21 and it all jumped up to 22.5. That people have been waiting for this 21 on Oklahoma.
So I'd wait for anything 24 above live. Pre-game, but even if you wanted a small bet at 21.5, it would be Temple or nothing. Spot of the year.
This will never be said on this podcast again, so eat it up, Owls. Temple is number 1 in the nation in passing success rate and finishing drives. Evan Simon, 9 TDs, no turnover-worthy plays. That'll never be said again on this pod. I can't join you. It's too low for me, but it is the spot of the year.
Keeler. It's just the upgrade at coaching for Temple is so insanely massive.
Well, that showed
the last 2 coaches
that blowout against UMass with a spread of like 3. It showed, right?
Yeah, like they're who were their last two coaches were Drayton and then Rod Carey, like jokes. So
Right.
they're just a much more serious from like how they're run, and Simon looks pretty good. And Temple's talked about having this game circled. Oklahoma just wants to get in and get out of here. All right. By the way, Trash, I should update this. Trash last week went 2-1. Charlotte somehow didn't cover. I'm having nightmares about that game. Trash now 2-2 on the year, 23-14 the past 2 years, and we're gonna get some results this week because this list is long. All right, let's go through. So we got Northwestern, Temple. Let's go Ark State plus 21 against Iowa State. Maybe they don't get any stops, but this is Iowa State's their fourth game. They were in Dublin. They have Cyhawk. They got Big 12 play on deck. Campbell's already come out and said he's worried about where his team's at physically. Mm-hmm. They're just there's going to be some fatigue here. They're going to like Arkansas State. I know they're coming off the Arkansas game, but they're hosting a Power 14 that embarrassed them last year, 51-3. They're going to be ready for this game. Their defense is awful. This isn't the same explosive Iowa State offense. And whose wins have aged worse than Iowa State? They beat Kansas State, who could be 0-3 with 2 losses as a 28-point favorite and a 17-point favorite, and they only beat Kansas State by 3. They beat South Dakota. South Dakota is a mess. South Dakota lost as 17-point favorites against Lamar last week. Their quarterback had the same stat line versus Iowa State and Lamar. And then Army lost to Tarleton the week before. No, who was the other win for? Oh, Iowa. And Iowa can't complete a pass against anybody. So, their wins are just not aging well. I'll take the 3 touchdowns. Campbell, I've seen him in these spots before where they just go super vanilla. He's worried a bit about the physical state of his team. So that means pull the starters a bit usual if they build a big lead. I think Arkansas State's offense at home has enough juice. Give me the Red Wolves in Jonesboro.
It's a good spot. It's just that I know that Arkansas State dumped their entire emotions on the field in War Memorial in Little Rock last week, so I'll pass on this one for you.
Delaware plus 10.5 against UConn.
This is a new level of trash. This is a bigger dumpster.
I like what I saw from this Delaware team. Good quarterback. Last week, what people don't realize, they lost by 24 to Colorado. The yardage was 398 to 396. They averaged 6 yards per play to Colorado's 5.7. Minichucci threw for over 300 yards last week. This is what happened in that game. They had, first of all, there was a leaping on a field goal that led to a touchdown. They were stopped on 4th and inside the 10. They fumbled inside the 20. They missed a field goal, a chip shot field goal. They threw a pick. They threw 4 times deep into Colorado territory without any points. They played Colorado basically even. UConn coming off of a heartbreaking, deflating loss in overtime. The first FBS matchup as an FBS team in Newark. UConn still has some issues. You just cover Skylar Bell. On their offensive line, their defense is not as good on the back end. I don't think Syracuse is any good. That's why I think they almost beat them last year. And remember, UConn last year, they won 9 games. I don't think they're as good as they were last year. I do like their staff. I like their defense coordinator. But they won 9 games last year, the most in forever. You know where they only had 2 road wins. You know they came against? UAB and UMass. Well, I'll take Delaware over both those teams. And both those games are 1-possession games. Won by 8 and 5. Delaware covers the double digits. I make this 8. Give me the Blue Hens, baby. First bet ever on Delaware as an FBS team.
Welcome to the trash segment. No. I mean, UConn. How I pushed that UConn bet last week, I'll have no clue. They had Syracuse dead to rights. I should just hate bet on Delaware, but I'll pass.
This is the ugliest one of all. Eastern Michigan.
How you're doing this?
They just lost to Long Island. That's what they do. They lose to an FCS team, then they go to a power conference team. We need Cutter Boley starting. This is what they do. Chris Creighton just covers as a huge dog. By the way, as a road underdog, he's 34-18-1 against the spread, 65% covering by 4 points per game. Most profitable active coach in all of college football as a road underdog. Kentucky's what he does. They don't beat themselves. They shorten the game. There's no turnovers. There's no penalties. There's no special teams mistakes. they're going to find a way to cover this game.
And Kentucky goes into a bye after this. They have no reason to cover. I'll join you on this one.
All right. EMU.
There's plenty of 24.5 out there.
24.5. And finally, Tulsa against Navy. I like Kirk Francis. Look, everyone was betting Tulsa last week like they knew the final score. Now everyone has abandoned ship. Well, that's when I'm the lone asshole that jumps in. It's a Service Academy laying 2 touchdowns. Navy has issues. They have issues in the back end. Their offensive line isn't as good. UAB basically played them to a tie until late in that game when they had a couple of turnovers. This is a big game for Tulsa. There's some momentum around the program. There's some excitement. It's their home opener in the conference. I think that they're going to be able to run the ball. Kirk Francis was just a disaster last week. And then, look, they had this kid, Baylor. What was his name? Baylor Hayes, I think, came in. I liked what I saw. He was way better than Francis. So the freshman, he went 14 of 17, 135 yards. He has wheels. I think he's a better fit for the offense. They still haven't decided who's going to start. I hope it's Hayes. By the way, 14-plus point favorites, Service Academies against FBS teams, 30 and 46 against the spread, 39.5% since 2005. Navy itself, 7 and 18 against the spread when laying 2 touchdowns or more against FBS teams, 28%. Give me the 2 touchdowns with Tulsa.
Yeah, I'm passing on Tulsa.
All right, well, I got you to agree on one. The trash. Yeah. Northwestern, Temple, Ark State, Delaware, EMU, and Tulsa.
Oof.
6 of them, baby. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful trash. All right, no San Diego State this week, so we don't have to go nowhere fast. We are going to talk Arkansas. Ole Miss at Arkansas. I'm on your Hogs, baby.
Yeah.
So you put it on the agree board?
Yeah, I think I'm joining it if you want to put it on the board. I don't think we have any 7.5s out there right now. I know you grabbed.
We'll put it on at 7 because by the time people listen, it's probably the best. We'll put it up at 7.
Shit, the Westgate just went to 6.5. Well, I got to put my bet in.
I think Simmons might be out.
That might be a good thing. Like, he's really sly. He had 2 more turnover-worthy plays last week.
You also, I just think Arkansas dropping coverage. He's getting rid of the ball in like rapid speed, and if he doesn't hit his first read, it's a mess. The offensive line is a mess. The Arkansas offense is rolling. The Ole Miss defense has holes. This is a game I think that goes right down to the wire. My only fear is that Lane, he didn't cover last week. He popped his gambler. He's like goes for the jugular this week. I think Arkansas's gonna have a chance to win this game.
I think Lane's been on the phone with the Florida AD all week too. Listen, there's 2 names you need to know outside of Taylor Green. Mike Washington Jr., 6.1 yards after first contact. I understand what this
O-line playing well too.
O-line is playing much better than last year. So, how are things going for Patrick Kudus down there in the offensive line for the Rebels? Not very well. What you need to know, if you have not heard this name, I've mentioned it a couple times, Omega Blake, the transfer in from Charlotte, is elite. He is unbelievable in creating explosive plays. Him and Taylor Green have great chemistry together. Ole Miss is 100th in creating a pass rush. That's perfect. Even though Taylor Green is better when he's outside the pocket, if he's not going to see much pressure, that's going to be great. Ole Miss also 102nd tackling right now. I love the over in this game. Arkansas's defense with Travis Williams, 13th in havoc. Austin Simmons, if he does play, is sloppy. I think the Hogs, I think they can win outright before they go and lose to Memphis. But yeah.
Back on board.
Blue Pig. Yeah. Blue Pig, baby. Blue Pig 2, baby.
Blue Pig. All right. Before we get out of here, let's go 3 and out. All right, Friday Night Lights. We have Colorado at Houston, Kansas, and it looks like Colorado is going to go Staub at quarterback. Like it was going to be between Lewis and Salter. Now it looks like it's going to be Staub, who came in and played well against Delaware. Colorado has a bunch of injuries, long injury report, especially on defense.
Yeah.
Kansas State at Arizona. Is Kansas State a corpse? I don't know. If they don't show up here, it's. I
think they're both over games, by the way. Both of them.
I like the Colorado Houston over. I also like Houston, and I have a sneaky suspicion that UCLA covers, but I needed I said, but I can't bet it now at the current price.
You don't want to back Jason Eck here. Given Michigan's defense a little bit of problems here, you don't think that they could do something?
It's just a gut feel. That's it.
I'm not fading New Mexico.
I needed a better number.
Eck is running some funky shit, man, and I have no faith in UCLA. So we'll see. I'm not saying it's a pure disagree. I haven't played it yet, but I'm not fading New Mexico.
Yeah, I like Houston in the over. I don't have any feel on Kansas State, Arizona. Like I don't know what
I'm going to over for me too. I mean, Kansas State is 112th in defensive finishing drives. They're 101st in creating havoc. Arizona is going to be able to. I mean, they're creating some explosives. They're top 20 in special teams right now. 9th in line yards for Arizona. That's a little shocking. They've been running the ball 59%.
Yeah, they look better, but I mean, the competition has not been great.
126 strength of schedule. True.
So hard to get a true read. But we'll see where Kansas State is at mentally because they need to pick themselves up. All right, second down favorite overdog, our favorite. Collin, you already talked about yours. You're going with Miami.
Yeah.
I agree there. I was going to go with Miami, but you went there. So I'm going to go North Texas, Mean Green, anything under a touchdown against Washington State. I'm a big believer in this North Texas team. I like what I've seen. I think that they're going to be able to move the ball through the air, and their defense is significantly improved. Might not show it on the final score last week, but there was some fluky stuff against Western Michigan. Their defense is significantly improved. That's what makes them a potential contender this year in that conference, is that they have potentially a complementary defense. Tough spot for Washington State, who did look better last week. I will give the Cougs credit. Clown the quarterback move, but they were much better last week. But we're going with North Texas and Miami. All right, third down. And we'll recap the board on fourth down. I forgot to do that last week, but we'll do that here. Third down, underdog moneyline parlay. I'm going to go Georgia Tech.
You hit last week. I missed Duke. So I got to get
Who did I have?
Mississippi State.
Oh, yeah. Man, those Duke turnovers. It could have been nice. I'm going to go with Georgia Tech. Like, is Haynes King healthy? I don't know. Georgia Tech is a dog. I'm selling this Clemson team. I can't bet them on the spread now. It's come down too much, but I think they win this game. As long as there's some uncertainty with King, and just like Clemson has looked so bad. They
have no running game.
I don't trust anything they're doing right now. Maybe this is the time to buy low, but I'm throwing Georgia Tech out there. I think they win. Should be an exciting game. I think Georgia Tech in the under, correlated with Clemson in the over. If Georgia Tech King's healthy, he's out there battering ramming his way to first downs. They're going to be running clock, shortening this game. Wish I grabbed that number early, but let's go with the Rambling Wreck. And then you're going with
Vanderbilt. I think you agree. I mean, Diego and Cedric Alexander are just absolutely going to man and power run concept their schemes all over South Carolina. South Carolina's offense, South Carolina State generated more methodical drives than South Carolina. Look at that box score in the yards per play. This Gamecocks defense 99th, and they're just not creating anything from the defensive line perspective. The offense is 99th in havoc allowed. They've allowed 12 tackles for loss, and Vandy's defensive line has already created 15 tackles for loss. Vanderbilt's going to own the trenches here, and they're going to win this game.
All right, good stuff. Let's recap the trash. By the way, like if you can't, I've been betting for like 20 years. I can stomach these bad teams. Sometimes you can have a disastrous week betting these bad teams, and it's awful because you bet bad teams and then you had a bad result, and then if you tailed someone doing it. So if you can't stomach that, it's going to put you on tilt. Just pick one or two. Like Colin did, he picked Eastern Michigan. But if you're riding along, let's go. The trash, 23-14, updated record. Northwestern, Temple, Park State, Delaware, Eastern Michigan, and Tulsa.
Is Delaware even on TV?
ESPN Plus. What a collection. My first two bets of the weekend are Northwestern and Temple at noon.
I'm going to click on the tile and I'm going to end up like in fucking Cornhole, Delaware or something, you know? Like
the channels that my games are on this week are like all over the place. Not a lot of full ESPN. Agree. Updated record is 37-26-1 against the spread. Hold on, let me double check if that's the record. 37-26-1, 58.7%. The agree. Florida, Miami. Back in Billy and Mario, what could go wrong? Florida, Miami, Vandy, Diego. Eastern Michigan. I got you to sneak a trash one on there. And your Hogs. Got 5 on the agree. Head-to-head, I've been dominating you this year. I'm 2-0. We didn't find a single one. How do we have no arguments?
I kind of badly want to take OU and go against you.
Do it. I'll even let you. I have 24.5. I'll even give you 22.5. I give you bad number. I give you good numbers every week. You want OU minus 22.5?
Yeah, I do. The numbers just come on. The
All
numbers are
right.
outrageous.
Temple, baby.
The numbers outrageous.
Al gifts coming your way on Saturday right in the early slate. That'll do it for us. By the way, make sure you check out the Group of Five guys. Make sure you check out the New Favorites podcast. Make sure you check out the NFL podcast, myself and Chris Raybon, the Action Network podcast, all of them. Make sure you subscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy. You know the deal. Thanks to Colin for joining me. Thanks to our producer, Matt Mitchell. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in. Let's have a profitable, trashy weekend. We'll see you Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern for the live show. And there will be trash there. Thanks again for listening. Catch you later. Cheers.
Peace out.